Tilea's Troubles, Part 117. A Letter to the Mayor. Summer, 2404. This to Reginaldo Scalise, Sindaco of the city of Portomaggiore, from Cimento Gagliardi, Chief Clerk, to Lord Alessio Falcone. My Lord Alessio has commanded me to inform you of the Allied Army's current circumstances and condition. He wishes me to deliver a comprehensive account, for, as his deputy in his beloved city, you must better understand the Army's requirements, the urgencies arising from our situation, and the necessities of the daunting struggle before us. Furthermore, there is a task you must complete without delay. We had rendezvoused with a brigade of the army of the VMC at Ebino, commanded by the Myrmidian priestess Lucia la Fanciulla. It was a force considerably weaker than that which was expected, and, most disappointingly, lacking in guns. Yet Lord Alessio was nevertheless undeterred. He ordered the entire Allied army, including the Riemann Brigade, under Captain Soldatovia's command, consisting of mercenary dwarfs, crossbowmen and Riemann bravi, to march along the dread road leading west towards Miragliano. Our scouts reported that the watchtower of Sonsino had been abandoned, which the Army Council took to mean that the enemy was aware of our approach, and most likely drawing in his foul servants to concentrate his strength. The army marched boldly to the watchtower's vicinity, and set about making an orderly and defensible camp. As this work was accomplished, our scouts travelled further abroad to learn the villages of Lino were as quiet and empty as Sonsino, having also been abandoned by the foe. The city of Miragliano itself, however, swarmed with the vampire servants, and its ancient grey stone walls are occupied by a host of rotting but walking corpses. What most concerned the Army Council was the news that the putrid waters of the blighted marshes had been allowed to overspill their artificial bounds to claim the land around the city walls and, most likely, a good deal of the city within. For many years the dikes built to protect the city from the vast expanse of wetland to its immediate west have been left untended, so that now the once noble city appears to be sliding inexorably into the filthy waters. Even the road leading to the city has sunk beneath the mire, and the moat has merged with the wide expanse of stinking swamp, stretching out for almost a mile in places, riddled with corpses and bustling with clouds of filthy, fat flies. Miragliano is become, as indeed most of those in the Army Council had ominously anticipated, like a behemoth's noisome carcass, washed up on the shore of a murky, accursed lake, infested with a host of maggots. Lord Alessio spoke the plain truth when he said all this was only to be expected of a realm racked by necromantic magics for so long. He ordered the army to march to the closest dry land to the city, there to build a strongly defensible camp, then dispatched the scouts with orders to patrol orbitally around the camp to ensure nothing could approach unnoticed. The siege master, Guccio, was instructed to begin work on siege towers and a ram able to approach the city walls. Meanwhile, a force drawn from both our army and that of the VMC was to venture into the marshes, there to clean out and burn the corpses, so that none remained to be reanimated by the foe in the oncoming assault. Captain Guccio willingly took on this task and began pressing the men needed to better speed the work from all three Allied forces. Having questioned the scouts closely, he learned that the swamp may be crossable by foot soldiers, but only with great difficulty. Thus he intends to mount the 2 towers and ram upon large rafts, which can then be poled, paddled or pushed to the walls, whichever proves feasible. While Guccio's men laboured to fell the necessary timber, much of the rest of the army set about not dissimilar work, building the camp on a large, relatively flat hill, about 2 miles from the city. Guards have been set in watches, ordered to maintain strict vigilance both day and night, with execution promised for any found to be derelict in this duty in any way whatsoever. Having been here almost a week now, it has become evident that the enemy is in no rush to sally forth to give battle, but rather content to lurk behind the city walls and the enveloping marsh. Whenever the wind, even a mere breeze, blows from the direction of the city, the stench it carries is almost overwhelming, even for soldiers inured to the noisome airs of Ebino. Every day, Soldiers bring the freshest water they can find to the camp, yet there is always corruption lurking in the taste of it, eliciting many a complaint. Our supplies of ale and wine are low, for we are now at such a great distance from the living realms, and there is a dearth of foraging opportunities within reach. Worse still, a considerable proportion of the supplies we brought with us, salted flesh meat, cured fish, even the grain, has prematurely rotted. Perhaps inevitably, although still surprising considering how little time we've been here, a number of men have contracted a camp fever, and their misery rings throughout the camp as they moan and thrash delirious upon their pallets. The scouts have so far consistently reported that apart from the city, there is nothing lurking about us, that the land around is truly dead. They learned little concerning the marshes, as it would be deadly for their horses to attempt to pass through such. So for several days we knew nothing concerning the areas closest to the city, and out to the south and west, where the marsh has overwhelmed the land, until, that is, the clearing party returned from their attempted labours. The VMC's commander, Lucia Lafanciula, acceded to Lord Alessio's request to employ some of her troops for the cleansing of the marshland approaches. She ordered her mercenary ogres, under the command of a Captain Ogbot, as well as the wizard Serafina Rosa, to join with the crossbowmen from both Rimas and Portamaggiore, the latter commanded by Captain Lupo. This force returned, however, after 2 days, reporting that they were entirely unable to complete their task, claiming that to do so was impossible, for not only did the marshes contain the dead, but the undead too. Concealed beneath the stagnant waters and quicksands, pale and slimy hands would suddenly reach up to clutch with a deathly grip at the legs of anyone attempting to pass through. Several crossbowmen perished, dragged to their doom by an enemy that the others often could not even see, never mind kill. They did try, shooting into the waters whenever they espied ripples or the sudden appearance of a clutching, black fingernailed hand, but learned quickly that this was simply a waste of quarrels. One of Ogbot's ogres also perished, tripping in the undergrowth as he tried to reach a skeletal corpse, and so tumbled into quicksand, there to be grabbed and pulled down, head first, to join with the undead below. 6 crossbowmen have apparently been frightened out of their wits, and to add to those who perished, half as many again have since succumbed to the sickness assailing the camp. Before they left off their grisly, nigh-on impossible task, this same party discovered that the city's moat has become a wide and deep stretch of noisome water, which merges with the marshland, reaching out, passable but, as already revealed, dangerous, some way from the moat. The road to the city, despite becoming submerged, is at least in places wadable, like the swamp, as it seems to have been built upon a raised causeway, and it may even be traversable all the way to the gate. In answer to Lord Alessio's query, the wizard Hakim agreed that his Colossus could most likely use the road, very much doubting that any bloated zombies lurking beneath the waters could either slow it or hurt it. But he immediately warned that there would be a risk of the brass, mechanically magic giant straying from the murkily submerged road and succumbing to the marsh, there to become stuck, or perhaps even sinking below the surface completely. The siegemaster attempted to reassure the Lord General by reporting that he and his men were making good progress on the rafts, towers and ram, which should much more safely allow soldiers to reach the gate and walls, first by dragging and pushing, then by the use of barge poles or oars, so that even the moat would not stop us. Lord Alessio accepted that Guccio's ingenious moat bridges had had great success at Urbino, but knows that here there are many more difficulties to overcome, and that even should the rafts reach the gate and walls, it is unlikely that sufficient soldiers could be carried thereby to successfully overcome the defences. The rest, were they to follow by wading behind, might succumb to a multitude of dangers. This is why Lord Alessio ordered that I write to you, and several other rulers and governors of the realms between here and Rimas. He is thinking of a way in which our forces might be better enabled to reach the city, should our present enterprises prove insufficient. What he has in mind will require a great workforce, consisting of expendable labourers and not the soldiers needed for the assault. You are thus commanded to empty the jails and prisons directly of all able-bodied prisoners, including debtors and those awaiting either trial or execution, and to gather all sturdy vagrants and beggars, whether imprisoned or not, no less than 1,000 in number, and send them all here to us, by whatever means and route is the quickest, under sufficient guard to ensure that none can abscond. You shall inform them that they are to be employed upon essential and righteous work, and furthermore, that should they survive the labour, they will be pardoned of all past misdemeanours, felonies, debts, and wrongdoings. And if insufficient numbers are thus obtained, then you are also to press into service all common youths unengaged in either apprenticeship or gainful employment, that they too might be dispatched to us forthwith, to serve as guastatori sappers, for which service they will be suitably rewarded at the completion of this campaign. Make haste and obey these orders in full, for the fate of Tilea lies in the successful conclusion of this war against the vampires. They cannot be allowed to recover their strength, nor even lick their wounds, but must be exterminated as soon as possible.